Hey guys, I'm back with Minion. Remember we left off with Professor Edson making a deal in the middle of the night saying he accepts some offer? Well, you won't find out what that offer is for a while, so sorry. Hang on tight with me. This chapter is called The Man Behind the Mask, Chapter 7, page 160. My life is slowly being populated by people in masks. People in masks are not to be trusted. I learned that from a movie. Of course, in the movie, the guy wearing the mask turned out to be the hero. Come to think of it, a lot of heroes wear a mask. Kind of makes you wonder what they're hiding. I'm not a supervillain, but if I was a supervillain, I would not wear a mask. For starters, they are hot and sweaty, and they probably make your face itch. They also make it hard to breathe, unless there are gas masks, I guess. I suppose they could serve some other practical purpose, infrared division, satellite communications, linkage, UV protection, whatever. That's not why people wear them. Think about it. A man walks into a convenience store. He's got a gun. His intentions are clear. He wears a mask. Why? So nobody will recognize him. If he takes off the mask, everyone will know who he is. Then he can be hunted down, captured, thrown in jail. With the mask on, he is anonymous. He can hide. He empties the cash register and makes it to the front door, where he is suddenly stopped by some caped vigilant with a utility belt and an overfed sense of justice or whatever. Of course, the superhero wears a mask. Why? So everyone will recognize him. So that his picture in the paper will put the minds of Joe and Joanna Bystander to rest and strike fear in the hearts of would-be convenience store robbers everywhere. There was a brief scuffle. The superhero wins. The robber is hauled off to jail. His mask stripped, his identity revealed, his life changed forever. The superhero, meanwhile, flies back into his secret headquarters, kicks off his boots, cracks open a drink. He pulls off his mask and looks in the mirror. Nobody knows who he is now. Not really. That's the point. He can walk down the street without getting mobbed by paparazzi. He can hang out at the mall. He can eat a ham sandwich on a park bench and feed the crust to the pigeons. And villains wear masks because it gives them the courage to do something extraordinary, something they might not have the guts to do otherwise. But heroes? Heroes wear masks because deep down inside, I'm guessing, they just want the chance to be normal. That's my theory anyway. Personally, I don't trust either of them. I sleep in. I'm too exhausted to move even when the sun starts stabbing at my pillow through the slats. By the time I drag myself out of bed and get dressed, it's almost noon. The Sunday paper sits on the kitchen table. My printout of the night sky is nowhere to be found. I stare dumbly at the picture of the trashed warehouse. The headline reads, "Comet Crashes Criminal Party." So it was a party. That explains why I'm exhausted. I skim through the article, trying to ignore the pounding flashes in my brain. Somewhere between 8 and 10 p.m., blah, blah, blah. Witnesses report seeing fire and smoke, blah, blah, blah. Police arrive at the scene of a war zone, blah, blah, blah. 12 men taken into custody, 7 of them hospitalized, known affiliations to the Romano and Maloney crime families. What appears to be a business deal gone bad. That's one way to put it. There is a picture of the warehouse, windows of busted glass, a halo of smoke coming through its brand new chimney, a burned out car in the foreground. There was a quote from one of the suspects, one of Mickey's guys, picked up by a reporter before the cops could shove him into the police van. He dropped right out of the sky. There was nothing we could do. The man is inhuman. That's one way to put that too. There is more. Brief histories of the 2 crime syndications, paragraphs of speculation on why they might have been meeting. A vague statement from the chief of police calling for a return to order and peace, and then pages and pages on the Comet. Just the Comet. There was no mention of a sidekick, no talk of the shorter, equally growly Wrath who appeared out of the shadows, toting disc bombs and grappling cords. Unlike the super who leaves a giant smear across the sky, the person who snagged me like a trout last night apparently left no impression. I start to wonder if I just imagined it, but the bruises on my elbows and knees are fresh. There was another hero there last night, another freak in a mask, another thing to wrap my head around. I put down the paper and try to listen through the floorboards. I wonder if Dad even bothered to sleep last night. I had thought maybe we could take the day off, spend some time together, talk about what was going on. But judging by how quiet it is up here, he is obviously down in the wire. I look over at the counter. The coffee pot holds only yesterday's coffee. Whatever he's doing, it's important enough for him to skip his morning coffee. I don't remember everything from last night. There's way too much. But I do remember him saying that things would be different between us, that he was going to try harder. I remember that, and I remember the phone call. I shuffle over to the basement door and I turn the handle. I turn again, giving it a little jiggle. It's locked. It can't be, but it is. I mean, it can be. It was for a very long time, but it hasn't been locked in 2 years, ever since I learned about my adopted ancestors. I knock once, then again, and then 6 more times, harder and harder, until my knuckles sting. Nothing, no response. Dad! Hey, Dad! I shout. Open up! I'm right here, he says. I spin around to see my father standing in the kitchen door with a half donut in the hand, as if he's just teleported there. As far as I know, he's never built a teleporter. You'd think that would be something he'd share with his one and only son. You startled me, I say. You couldn't hear me come in because you were shouting, he says matter-of-factly. I point to the door. It's locked, I say. It's more of a question than a statement. He nods, affirming my assessment. I take a deep, patient breath and I try again. Why is the door locked? I'm working on something, Dad says, still holding his half-eaten donut. There's a bag of them under his armpit. I got breakfast, he adds, as if that somehow clears things up. Oh, well, if you are working on something. I have to wait sometimes for the sarcasm to sink in with him. Sometimes it never quite hits bottom. Just floats there between us like dust motes in a sunbeam. But this time he gets it. I can tell by the look on his face. He struggles to find a response. They're cream-filled, he says, holding out the bag, letting it hang there in the void. I notice he's not looking me in the eyes. I don't reach for the bag, so he sets it down on the table and rakes his flaming bush of orange hair back. For the first time, I realize how old he looks. It's not the streaks of silver speckled in his beard or the sag of skin around his eyes. I've noticed these before. It's the way he stands, with one hand holding on to something, the back of a chair, the door frame, the corner of a table, as if his own 2 legs aren't quite solid enough anymore. When he speaks again, the words are all spread out, as if every one of them has an anchor attached, and he has to pull them forcibly from deep down inside. Listen, Michael, I think you should stay up here for a while. Up here? I repeat. You mean like don't go down in the basement? I call it a basement on purpose. A liar is one thing, but a basement? You wouldn't keep your son from going down in the basement. I made a mistake. You're not ready, he says. Not for this. Not ready, I shout, stepping sideways to get him to look at me. I've been helping you for 2 years. You made me rob banks. You once had asked me, a cop, if I could borrow his gun. But I didn't ask you to shoot anybody with it, he counters. I was 12 years old. I wanted you to feel included. Fine, then include me, I shout. I'm not stupid. You said yourself that everything in life is a choice and that nobody should do something just because they're told to. Fathers are different, he says. This is different. You have to do what I tell you. He tries to reach out for me. I step back. It's not permanent, Michael. A couple of days. It's just what I'm working on right now. I don't want you involved. I shake my head, piercing together the words, pulling them back apart. Don't want you. He can't be saying what I think he's saying. A little too late for that. I'd say last night I was pretty involved. 13 years old, a criminal history, weekends with the mafia, running from superheroes, and I still have to use that in front of my father. Exactly, he says, snapping his fingers as if I solved the equation. It's my fault. I thought I could protect you, that we could protect each other. But this, everything's out of balance. It was unexpected. I can get it under control, but I need you to stay out. Just until I'm finished with the one thing. Then everything will be back to normal. He nearly stumbles over the word. No, better than normal, I promise. My mind is racing. I look back at the basement door. What could be so terrible, so dangerous, that he's suddenly kicking me out of the basement? I felt my father build antimatter rays, memory erasers. I've been burned, scratched, paralyzed, temporarily blinded, and nearly electrocuted, and still the door has never been locked. Not since the day I first went down. Please tell me you're not building a nuclear weapon. I'm not building a nuclear weapon. It's smallpox then, isn't it? You've got the Ebola virus down there, the Black Plague. It's nothing like that, he insists. Then why won't you let me in? I yell, a seething, teeth-clenched question that actually comes out a little spit and causes my father to flinch. He finally dares to look into my eyes. His pouty bottom lip quivers. He looks pathetic. Gaunt face and a popsicle stick frame, trembling under his cargo shorts and Hawaiian shirt. We stand there staring at each other. I could do it. I could make him unlock that door. I could make him tell me what's down there. And he knows it, but he still doesn't look away. You have to trust me, he says. I could do it, but I look down, breaking the stalemate. After a moment, he reaches into his back pocket and pulls out a wad of cash, peeling off $200 bills and setting them on the table next to the donuts. I wonder if they came from Dickens, or maybe he robbed the donut store, though that doesn't sound like something he would do without me. Of course, I didn't think there was much of anything he would do without me. Take it, he says. Go somewhere. See a movie? Be normal for a change. For me. For both of us. I don't reach for the cash, shaking my head in disbelief. Yesterday he was mad at me for leaving the house. Now he's bribing me to go? I'm going to make things right, he says. I just need a little bit of time. He makes a move, like maybe he will come and wrap his arms around me again like he did last night. But I stand there, glaring, rigid, refusing to make any move that will give him permission. I'm reminded of all those chess matches I've already lost. He's never apologized for winning. There is another calculated pause, like when you're poised and the piece hovering above one square or another. Then he heads to the door, pulling the key from his pocket. Sorry, son, he says over his shoulder, then he disappears, closing the door behind him. I shuffle over slowly and I try the handle once, just to be sure. My instinct says break it down, grab the heaviest thing I can find and pound away at the handle until it breaks. But then a second impulse grabs me, to get out, to go away. I can feel the whole house collapsing, getting smaller around me, a box with no trick floor, and the river all around, seeping in through the cracks. I put on my new shoes, still caked in mud from my mad dash through the field last night, and I head to the door, shutting it hard behind me. Even though I know full well he can't hear it, still there is a small satisfaction in feeling the house shudder beneath the force of a fully slammed door. 2 minutes later, I come back inside, stuff the $200 bucks in my pocket, and I grab a donut from the bag. At the very least, it gives me the chance to slam the door again. I'm going to stop there on page 168. What is he working on? What is Professor Edson working on? We will find out. Bye, guys.